welcome back to another episode of The Joe of Painting with Joe Lawson. I am your host and painter and explorer. Today we will be painting a landscape from No Man's Sky. Yesterday I had the idea that, what better a game to paint landscapes from than an infinitely procedurally generated universe. So today we're going to be doing a little beach scene. You've probably seen this screenshot. We have it's a daytime beach scene. We have a moon floating in the background. We have some ships. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to add those ships in yet, but we have these awesome burnt orange fall themed trees. We have some crimson red grass, a nice soft yellow beach, some nice aquamarine down here, and then our horizon. So we're going to jump into that. I got some titanium white here on my palette, some alizarin crimson, Indian red, yellow ochre, a mid yellow, like a cadmium yellow. We have a red orange, an aquamarine blue, and then our black over here, Mars black or ivory black, whatever you find. And these are oil paints. And so what I did, I went ahead and did my liquid white on the canvas, so our canvas is wet and ready to take these colors. And like usual, we're going to jump right in with our sky. So now I have this moon floating off over the horizon right about here. So when I do my sky, I'm just going to be mindful of that. I'm going to try and use the white that I already have on here. If you nail it, awesome. If not, no worries. You can come back in with the white later and sort of fluff in the highlights and or the way the light hits that moon floating around the planet you're on. So we're going to start up here with some small X's with our 2-inch blender brush. Start dropping this sky in. Really soft X's, just work your way down, and you'll see how the blue just kind of melts into that white, which is what we want. And so I'm going to leave this little area right here sort of unattended at the moment. I'm super excited about this game, and a little nervous just because you can't explore the whole thing, not in our lifetime at least. Maybe it'll stick around and people, our kids will play it, and it'll just be this ongoing experience, which would be pretty rad. So it's a nice bright day on this planet, so we don't need our blue to be too heavy. We kind of want our atmosphere, which seems to be sort of white and misty, to drown this blue out, to really assimilate the blue in with this white. And then we'll come back in and right after this, once we get our moon in there, and we'll start dropping in clouds. And then once our clouds are in there, they'll really start to, they'll add more white, they'll drown that blue out a little more, and they'll start creating some dimension in our painting. Like I said, I'll come right back in a minute and work that blue in. But since we're already working with white, let's get some of our clouds in here. And so we're going to load our brush up, just pull it through into your brush. And we're just going to be using the corner. So let's see, I want cloud dropping in right here. And we'll let them, we'll let the clouds and our moon mingle a little bit, create some, indistinguishable feature here. That's what I'm seeing in the image. It's okay if the blue kind of overtakes your cloud, no worries, because we can come back in with more white. Just kind of work your cloud on down to the horizon. And this is what we want. We're going from our truest blue down to our whitest blue. We're adding a lot of white. We're really tinting that. And that's creating this sort of, if you're looking at the horizon, you're seeing the atmosphere almost kind of crawl over and give you that roundness. More white here. Let's see. Our light's coming from this way, so we got highlights up top here. And then once you introduce highlights into the body, you're really, again, creating layers. You can see now that we have a twofold cloud rather than that one layer. Let's see, what do we want to do? We'll have a guy floating up top here. And again, just gently punch these guys in. Just sculpt the form you want. And then we'll come back in and refine it. Have them billowing out a little bit over here. There we go. And little soft X's just to merge that white with your blue. We'll leave a little dark hole over here. Maybe it's drifting off. Alright, so I'm bringing some of my aquamarine blue in and letting it shine through, trying to bring some of this blue up here down into our moon what that shadow is. And this is going to be, just feel it out. You just want a nice round shadow. Just allude to the fact that you're painting a sphere. That's what light and shadow does. It gives you that dimensionality. Alright, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to clean out my 1-inch brush. Do the deed. For right now, I'm going to get a little bit of yellow on the brush and just start playing with it. If anything, just to establish where your landmass is. And again, this is just to establish, and luckily in that little, we have a little tide pool here, and there, we have some vegetation in there, and the water is a bit green, so luckily these blues and the yellows, if we're careful, they'll interact just right and create those kind of ocean greens that we want. Alright, who do we want to use for this? I might use my fan brush. I think it's just a 1-inch fan brush, and I'm going to visit this blue again, this aquamarine. We're just going to come in here. Let's see, where's our horizon? Just kind of draw this guy out. Create a nice edge and just really just drop this water in. And I'd say lead with your horizon, create, really focus on that sharp line. Bring it in. Whoops, didn't even follow my own advice. So horizontally, I'm just kind of carving out this ocean. And the striation in the water kind of gives you, again, perspective, dimension. I'll let that water creep around just a bit. Don't want to encroach too much just yet. The next thing we're going to do, clean off our fan. Beat the little devil off your shoulder out of it. Alright, come back to my 1-inch. And I'm really just going to work this blue into the painting. The good thing about No Man's Sky, or painting No Man's Sky, if I'm painting this one and I don't get it right, chances are this place actually exists in the game. It's out there. You just got to find it. That would be wild. To paint it and then see it in the game. I just want to create, again, this landmass. So this is where the grassland meets the beach. So it kind of curves around here. It kind of goes off into the distance, but not too much. It's not taller than our horizon, per se. So I'm creating the body of red, and then I'll start pulling out those features. Alright, I got some grass there. Let's see. And that's probably a job for our fan brush. But you can, if you want to experiment with the brush in your hand, no problem there. Palette knife. Number 5, palette knife. I'm going to do the same thing with some of this deeper blue and let it mingle with our white. And I'm going to start creating some craters. You can go ahead and if you want to sketch it out, drop in some highlights, and then you can go back and sculpt it. Practice your chaos. You got some craters in our moon. I'm going to wipe off our palette knife. Get that nice and clean for next time. We're really going to define this area. And so with that crimson, I got my fan brush. It's a nice tool just for sharper painting. Really load it up and just kind of... And these aren't final either. I'm just sculpting out this hairline, essentially. The beach has a hairline. I'm angling my fan brush this way, pushing down and just letting those bristles kind of go, wow. And you kind of create these little nuances off in the distance that look like foliage and blades of grass, and just something to mix it up. Create a blur. Don't overwork it. Try not to overwork it. I think that's my biggest challenge, is working the painting too much. Get a nice modest point of yellow on the edge of your fan brush. And I'm just going to start angle like this way and just start throwing some blades of grass in. And I'd say start at the back because you're layering on top. So build your back out first. Oh, this is looking awesome. And again, you don't have to copy your, if you're using a reference like I am today, which I don't usually do, but I wanted to give it a shot. It doesn't have to be, a carbon copy. This is your painting. You do what you want. You just use the imagery as inspiration. Just flick, flick, flick. Just touch and go, touch and go. You're not landing. Bring in some more yellow to highlight certain aspects. All right, tree time. We're just going to start sculpting. We got this nice big dude right here. He's got this big sturdy base. Careful when you got too much wet on wet. Never know what you're going to get. I like it. And he's got kind of a bigger arm coming out this way. Another one coming up here. And we're just creating some tree features. It doesn't have to be too intense because we're going to go right over top of this with some of that foliage. Just create a nice big bush. Man, I wish Bob was still around. We could just bring him in here and be like, show us the way, Bob. But we're brave. We can do this. Cool little tree here. Well, we got our gray on the knife. We can probably work some rocks in too. It's got a little beach rock here. Just chilling. What up, beach rock? What you doing? Oh, nothing. Anything else? We got one more tree out here, I noticed. Let's do this guy. I think he's the one that originally caught my attention. The moon and the tree. And we'll just kind of carve in some sort of landmass over there. Alright, now for the fun part. My favorite part. And we're going to use a brush I've never really used before. Hopefully it doesn't backfire on us. Actually, we'll visit you in a second. I'm going to stick with the trusty 1-inch brush. Alright, so we're going to use our palette knife, get that nice and clean. We're going to mix up some color. So we got this nice, let's see. Now crimson is dark, almost like the black, so you don't need too much. Bring in orange and a little bit of that Indian red. Pull, so we're using our 1-inch and you're just pulling your paint into that corner. Same thing as we did with those clouds. We're just going to be dropping this guy in here. Corner first. Use your corner. So we're dropping in our middle color, maybe our dark color, and we'll come back in and revisit with those highlights. Boom. And again, be variable with how you press. Don't just do one direction. Just kind of rock them back and forth. I like to think of how you see lightning or roots or veins or mushroom mycelium. It's all got that lightning, very fractal, chaotic pattern. That's what you're going after in your mind. You're just almost like a slot machine. It's like ding 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 ding, that one, ding 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 ding, that one, ding 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 ding, that one. A little more crimson. Work some shadows in. All right. I'm going to go in, again, just straight yellow. Mix right onto the canvas, and these will be the highlights of our trees. Clean your 1-inch. We're going to dive right back in with your 1-inch. If you have a towel, just get that excess paint thinner off. Load some of that yellow, maybe some of that orange. And just light that sucker on fire. Ooh. And again, you can't overwork it. I think that's the point where I'm at now, where you're too crazy. But again, it's No Man's Sky, so no one can tell me what's not in the game yet. There she is. Hey, girl. Ooh, cool. See, we just set our tree into the scene there. And that fan brush, you can get that same, if you're just touching and going with the corner of your brush, you can get some spurs. All right, I'm going to clean this guy off. We're going to do a little bit to the beach and the water, and then we are done. Whew. And if you guys are painting too, if you're painting alongside or doing your own thing, tweet at us. Let us know. Let's see what, it's like have a virtual studio going. No Man's Sky. I am so excited for this game. That's kind of cool. I like how there's almost like a mist coming over the beach. I like that. I'm gonna go with it. And probably after this white, just to kind of lift sort of the sand up out of itself, I'm going to add some of that yellow ochre and just create some little rocks. And let's see, let's pull this guy right into the, kind of leaving a little bit of darkness around where the grass meets the sand, because that's where most of our shadow's coming from, is this foliage. But it opens up over here. You rock. Fuck. The benefit of adding your rock features after you've created your blended beach is that you don't have to work around them. Okay. See, we got some of those greens happening over here. This nice little shoreline. And then maybe with our bigger palette knife, grab some of that white. Maybe some tidal action here. I almost have that. I'm just gonna slapshod carve in some motion into where that water's meeting the sand. Just show, because as that water thins, as it becomes less of body, and it's you can really see the beach through that. It's almost clear, but you still have water there. So a little bit of my blue. Actually, clean off your palette knife first. You just want a nice blue edge. And what I was doing with that water over here, I'm going to do with my horizon line. Just bring it over here and just show that it doesn't just give up right there. It continues on. Same thing with our moon. That's what I was doing with the palette knife up here. It was just showing that even though there's a shadow there, the light just doesn't give up. There's not like a hard line, that light trickles in. All right. On your horizon, boom. Carve a little bit of that in. Hey, that looks pretty cool to me. And that's all you want. Just to feel good about what you're making. Clean this guy out. I'm going to put some rocks on the beach and we're done. That's it. Clean, dry brush. I'm going to put my palette knife down. And let's see, some ochre. Some of that yellow ochre, real gently. And we're just going to be peppering the beach. Just gently kind of working in there. You don't want it standing out too much, but you want it. You do, again, want... These elements are lifting this flat, image into an idea. That's what we're going for. And all these little techniques point to something that we see in reality. I'm kind of walking these little peppered yellow ochre out of the darker areas into the lighter areas. Just showing that threshold, that transition. Not everything is cut and dry. And again, mix up the way you press. You don't want coincidences, is what my illustration professor called it. When you see these coincidences, these seemingly chaotic elements, but they line up too perfectly, they create focal points. And then all you can really fixate is on, why do those random elements look so not random? So, practicing your chaos, whether it's on the canvas, in your sketchbook, it's fun too. Alright, you guys and gals, I think I'm going to call it on this one. I'm very happy with it. Nice little morning exercise, little experiment. So yeah, thank you for joining me. Subscribe, comment, let us know what you want me to paint. And this is a Joe painting, but we're going to start eventually. We're going to be streaming these. I'm just going to turn the camera on. I'm going to just paint. Not necessarily video game stuff, but just exploring oil paint on the canvas in a studio environment. And eventually we'll make our way. We'll do digital painting, we'll do vector artwork, and who knows where we'll go from there. This is just the beginning. I'm glad you're here, and thank you so much for joining me. And I will see you next time. Cheers.